Welcome back to part two in our four-part series on the causes of World War II. In this video, we're going to talk a lot about the expansion of Adolf Hitler's Germany throughout the 1930s and the lead up to World War II. Starting off, we're going to start off talking about Italy. Italy is also a fascist government, which again is that very right-wing communist version of government. It is a totalitarian government under the command of a guy named Benito Mussolini. And Italy is going to invade the last sovereign nation of Africa, which is Ethiopia, in 1935. Ethiopia's leader, Haile Selassie, protests this to the League of Nations, but since the League of Nations doesn't have any military power, they don't do anything about it. And again, we talked about the weakness of that program before. In that same year, 1935, Hitler is going to introduce his plan of uniting all ethnic Germans throughout Europe. There's a lot of German people living in various countries, and he wants them all living under the German government. Hitler also introduces his Völkisch policy, which is this intense form of racism and nationalism all tied in together, saying that there's a stronger race of people. The German people are a stronger race of people that he calls the Aryan race. And he uses kind of bits and pieces of history, leaves really important things out, makes up other things, and credits this Aryan race with all the great accomplishments of history, and then says there's lower orders of people or subhumans that have held back the Aryan race from their true greatness. And he decides that this Aryan race needs more what he calls Lebensraum, which is living space. So he, in private, is coming up with plans to expand the size of Germany, give them more living space, more agricultural area, so that his Aryan race can expand and become the great race that he wants it to be. Around this time, in 1936, he's also going to have an agreement with Italy's dictator Benito Mussolini. This is called the Rome-Berlin Axis, the capital cities of the two partner countries, and it's their idea that with Italy and Germany united, the whole world is going to figuratively revolve around that axis between the two, that line between the two. And they'll be the most powerful countries in the world. Everybody will have to go to them for anything. Eventually, in 1940, Japan will join that alliance and become the third Axis power in the, at that time, World War II. But we're going to work up to Japan in video 4. So back to the 1930s, as we said, the Germans had been really hurt by the Treaty of Versailles and the War Guilt Clause from 1919. And now Hitler is going to start violating that War Guilt Clause in the Treaty of Versailles itself. That should initiate war at the time, but Britain and France are still very traumatized by World War I. They're dealing with depression issues of their own, economically, like the United States, and they're not really interested in entering into a war. So Hitler's first major violation of the Treaty of Versailles, as I said, comes in 1936 when he militarizes the Rhineland. That means that he's going to send German soldiers into this area between along the Rhine River, in this border area between Germany and France. This map here on the left of your screen, the white map, is taken from approximately this area of a European modern map. So to give you an idea. So again, according to the Treaty of Versailles, Germany is allowed to have no more than 100,000 men in the military, and they're not allowed to have any military weapons or personnel in that Rhineland area. Hitler violates it, and again, nothing from Britain or France. Then 2 years later, he decides to, again, work on his Lebensraum, or his uniting of the German peoples program, and he annexes the country of Austria, which is just down here where he's from. Again, Austria, those people there, ethnically very, very similar to Germans, if not the same. So he wants to bring them into the fold. In addition to annexing Austria, he also takes over an area that's known as the Sudetenland. The Sudetenland is this sort of C-shaped boundary around the country of Czechoslovakia. He takes that area in particular because that's where most of the German people are living that are under the command of the Czechoslovakian government. So with taking over the Rhineland and Czechoslovakia, he's taken back a lot of the population that Germany lost under the War Guilt Clause in the Treaty of Versailles. Also, a lot of the industrial capability. Most of Germany's industry was out here in this Rhineland area. And again, at this time, Britain and France, they do something, not very much. they decide to meet along with Hitler and Mussolini in the city of Munich. So the British and the French leaders on one side, the Italian and German leaders on the other, and they have this big meeting in Munich. And really all that comes from it is that the British and the French say it's okay that the Germans have done these things, that they've taken over the Rhineland, Austria, and Czech, and the Sudetenland. And they say it's okay that Italy has taken over Ethiopia as long as they promise not to do anything else. Now, put yourself in their shoes. Again, you've just gone through World War I. You're not doing very well economically at the time. You don't want to go fight right now. But if Hitler's acting like a bully and he's figuratively taking your lunch money, if you say it's okay but ask him not to do it again, he's not going to respect you. He's going to continue to do it, and you're going to end up in a war. And that's what the Munich Agreement and this policy of what's called appeasement, of giving the aggressive countries, Germany and Italy, what they want, is seen as a very negative thing now in history. And it's something that we avoid as much as possible, trying to appease foreign countries. And you've probably seen in movies how they always say the United States doesn't negotiate with terrorists. And it's because of things like this, the Munich Agreement. And what we suppose is exactly what happens. Hitler does not respect Great Britain or France as potential enemies. Even if he does go to war with them, he doesn't think they're going to have a chance to beat him. He should be able to beat them easily. And frankly, he wants that because he would love to take over France as well. And if he invades France, then that makes him the bad guy internationally. But if they declare war on him, then he can invade and do whatever he wants. Before he starts a war, though, he wants to make sure he's not fighting a two-front war like Germany did in World War I. So he signs a non-aggression agreement with the Soviet Union. And this surprised a lot of people because, again, Germany is very conservative and right-wing. The Soviet Union is liberal and left-wing, fascist or communist. These two groups do not see eye to eye, despite both being totalitarian governments. But they did this. They signed the agreement together, just saying that neither country would invade the other for 10 years. So in 1939 to 1949, there's supposed to be no invasion of Germany or the Soviet Union by their opponent. And Hitler set this up because he had designs to go ahead and invade Poland. There's a lot of great farmland and Lebensraum for the German people, this Aryan race. He wanted to make sure that he could move east and invade Poland, or you see here, move east without offending the Soviet Union out here and having to fight them again. Hitler will, once that non-aggression agreement is signed, Hitler invades Poland in September of 1939. At that point, Great Britain and France are forced to go ahead and declare war on Germany. And the United States, will take some action with that as well. As Hitler invades the western portion of Poland, Stalin and the Soviets go ahead and invade the east, and they divide Poland roughly down the middle. And we will move on from there in our next video. Thank you for watching.